Hey guys, I'm back at it again, and just like last time where we covered Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, we're going to be covering the American version of the game, I guess you could say, which is going to be Super Mario Bros. USA. Before that, we have to talk about another game that's going to be corresponding with this game. So back when Super Mario Bros. 1 first launched, Miyamoto went back to the drawing board and decided to do not just a horizontal playing field, but a vertical one where you can go up and down, and at the time he wasn't really able to get it exactly fun, so he decided to scrap it. When he did decide to scrap it, Nintendo actually decided to do a collab with Fuji TV, and Fuji TV wanted them to make a game for them. That game came soon to be known as Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic. So when Miyamoto and his team who worked on the first Super Mario Bros. Game went to work on this game, the game had to be ready before the event for Fuji TV, which was known at the time as Carnival Yumi Kojo 87. Despite how it actually looks, story wise, it's a tiny bit different, but gameplay, it's pretty much just copy and paste, except minus the Mario game influence. Now, for the story, it's a little bit on the weird side, but I mean, it was back then. Who really cared, honestly? It followed a family of Arabian descent where they were given a book by a monkey and they just got kind of trapped in it. And along with being trapped in it, they also found out that a monster actually stole a dream machine and decided to make the whole dream world a pretty much monster influenced place. And in doing so, the family brought to them that they decided to stop the monster, which they actually do in the game. Now onward to the actual game we're talking about, which is Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. It follows Mario and his friends getting trapped into the same dream world, minus the whole book and monkey aspect of it. And in this dream world, they go to this land called Subcon, and this is the land where Wart the Frog is actually trying to rule it with an iron fist. And so Mario and his friends pretty much just do their Mario thing and actually try to stop him. In doing so, they pick up this weird ability to just pick up turnips and throw it at people, along with picking up enemies themselves and throwing it at them. Instead of being able to jump on opponents, you actually just pick them up and just toss them, which they don't really do anything like this in future games. So it's a little bit of an ability they just somehow gained. But I mean, whatever, I guess. My history with Super Mario Bros. 2 USA isn't really that vast. It's actually pretty short. It all comes down to when I was younger, around probably 10 years old. Somewhere between then, I got a lot into YouTube at the time, back when it used to look like this. And I decided to follow a bunch of Let's Players, which are pretty much just people who play the game and talk over it. In doing so, I was very confused, like the audience of Americans, where they saw Super Mario Bros. 2, but then they also saw Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels. The whole thing kind of sparked my intrigue into both games, actually. And eventually, me being a dumb 10-year-old or however old I was, I didn't really figure out what happened. Not until much later into my middle school lifestyle. That's when I actually figured out that Super Mario Bros. 2 USA is for the USA, obviously. And the Lost Levels, the reason they come over here was because they thought it was too hard. And in doing so, I honestly, every time I did see gameplay of this game, I never actually got turned off by it. I know it seems a little bit weird known to play like this, but it always intrigued me. I could never really know why. Until 2013, when I actually decided to buy it on the Wii U. Yes, the Wii U, the console that most people don't even remember, probably, most likely. I mean, kind of just got overshadowed by the Switch, you know. But on the eShop, I bought it on the Wii U, and honestly, for me being the young gamer I was, I really didn't understand how the game was. Even though I did see some videos on it, I never knew how it actually played and what it was about. And in doing so, I actually got stuck in the first level. Yes, the first level. And I just gave up on it. Like, no cap. I just decided to be like, I'm not wrong. The game is wrong. And I just deleted off my Wii U and never played again or spoke of it. Don't really know why. I mean, I was just dumb or impatient. Yeah. But here we are, probably Almost 10 years. Wow. My God. That's almost been 10 years. Oh, wait. I hope it hasn't been 10 years. Oh well, I'm not going to fact check that. Now, sliding to actual gameplay, like I was saying, it starts up with Mario and his friends just being here and not knowing it's a dream world. So you could choose out of four characters, not just Mario and Luigi this time. It's actually Princess Peach. She surprisingly gets her first time ever playing as an actual character, and she actually does shit in this game if you choose to play as her. And then you have Toad, who actually decided to man up and not just get kidnapped all the time. Decided to help out Mario, but he doesn't really get that much time to shine, unfortunately, because all these characters do play differently from one another. Mario is the most balanced out of all of them, being the most average at running, jumping, pretty much just being the almighty boring guy, I guess you could say. Now for Luigi, he's personally my favorite, being a little bit faster than Mario, but having the highest jump in the game. Now Princess Peach, I love the girl, but goddamn is she slow. I mean, look at this, like what the fuck is this? But at the very least, she has a hover ability, which is actually pretty useful if you decide to play as her. For me, she was probably my least favorite. Now for Toad. Honestly, the only reason I'll pick this guy is if I'm doing a speed run. Other than that, he's kind of garbage. Because he is the fastest in running, but in jumping, I mean, just look at this guy. He's, like, look at this. You have to do a high jump in order to get to places. Now, going to control scheme, it's pretty much the same as the first one and the second one. Or I guess in this case, the lost level one, where you press the A button to jump and the B button to run. But you also have the ability, like I mentioned before, picking up enemies or, in fact, turnips. Which, yes, you can pick up turnips and throw it at people. Don't really know how this is effective, because, I mean, you're throwing a plant at someone, but, I mean, I never really tried in real life, so maybe it's highly effective. Let's probably give that a try someday. And like I mentioned earlier with Toad, you actually have the ability to high jump, where if you hold the crouch button and wait a certain amount of time, your character actually starts to glow. And once the character actually starts to glow, they have the ability to do a higher jump than normal, albeit you do have to wait a good couple of seconds. In that time, you might get hit or something. And as you can guess from the left side of the screen, there's two red bubbles. That's actually your health. In this game, I guess they decided to swap out the whole big and small thing, but also adding a health meter. Because, I mean, small Mario, or I guess in this case, the small version of your character is still in the game, but I guess they just had to make it more simple, or so people would know that they would die in the next hit. But in doing so, you do have the ability to get health back from certain enemies that you kill, while also being able to go through these potion doors that you can just grab randomly. They're pretty much just wherever they are in the level. And as soon as you toss it, you go to this negative zone, I like to call it, where everything's pretty much just black and flipped over from left to right to left. And all the planets that might be in that area are actually flipped to being coins, which you can actually use for the slot machines at the very end of the level. Or sometimes, if you're actually lucky, depending on the area that you're in that you throw it in, you can actually find a mushroom. And once you pick it up, you get more health, but only one per mushroom. You can get up to 4 health, I think. I don't really remember because I actually never bother wasting my time on this. I usually just ran with it with 2 hits. Enemy-wise, they're all pretty just weird enemies that honestly don't really make an appearance until later games, if they even do make a later appearance. Now with the enemies, a lot of them aren't really unique. They're pretty much just the same. Most of the enemies are actually just obstacles and don't really do anything that noteworthy. They really just stand there like an average Goomba, except this time you can't even jump on them. So you're merely just running past them. And for some reason, this game really likes to just recolor enemies. I don't really know why. There's pink ones, red ones, gray ones, fucking blue ones, or whatever. I don't really know why. Now, for the more noteworthy enemies, there's an enemy called Key Mask where, as the name states, it's a key mask. So there's actually keys in the game that locks doors. You have one of the masks that surrounds the key actually come out to you and will hunt you down until you use the key. Then you have the first appearance ever, Pokies, which are just this long cactus ball-like creature that you can't really get rid of in this game until you actually hit the head, or you keep on pulling its head off, which is pretty morbid when you think about. But I mean, the first game had you killing innocent toads, so I guess that's not really new for this game. But bombs made their first appearance in the game as well, where in the name states, they're bombs where they explode in a certain amount of time, and that's really about it. After that, they're kind of just dead. Then electric balls, which don't quote me on the name, but all they do is just go around the area that they're attached to, slow or fast. That's really all they got, too, to be honest. Onward to power ups, which there's only really two, and that's the cherry, which at first it may not seem like a power up and just something you're grabbing, but the more you grab, after a certain amount, you actually get the power star, which now returns in this game. Being the same as the previous ones, where it makes you invincible for a certain amount of time. In this game, I think it's the shortest it actually activates for. It gives you a little catchy tune, and just you're off you go. Albeit this isn't really a power up, but a power item. That's a power block, where if you throw it on the ground, it screen nukes everything on the screen. And that's pretty much it for the power up section. Just wanted to talk about this segment right here with Birdo. This is some lost levels bullshit. You're supposed to fly on his A, you can go all the way to the right screen, but they don't even tell you that. So, like, how the fuck are you supposed to know that? Come on now. Something else I wanted to say, something that's just really weird about this game, if you have more than like 6 enemies or whatever on the screen, the game slows down. Like, you're about to see it here. It just starts to like crash almost. Like, oh my god, look at this. Like, this is not edited. This is how the game is when there's just like this many enemies on the screen. Onward to bosses, I would say that most of the bosses aren't actually that bad. I actually kind of like some of them. I mean, sure, they use pretty much the same tactic, which is you picking up said items they throw at you and throwing it at them. Birdo actually makes their first appearance, which, just real quick, I'm not entirely sure if Birdo's actually a boy or a girl. I've seen it state either way, so I'm just gonna call them. But for Birdo's case, their boss fight is a little bit honestly disgusting if you think about it. They throw their unborn children at you from their mouth in the shape of an egg, and you can pick it up and throw it at them, and they just die. Yeah, just, I don't know what they were thinking with this one. Then you have Mousers, I think is his name, not entirely sure, but we'll find out in the credits. And this guy, aesthetic wise, is actually kind of my favorite. He's just a mouse with sunglasses. I mean, come on, that's pretty badass. At least I like to say so. All he does though is throw bombs at you, and you just pick them up and throw it at him. That's really all about it. And then you got the snake guy who throws fireballs at you, and you just pick up these little mushroom-like stones, I guess you could call them, and you just chuck it at him, and he dies. And then you have the fire guy, which is just a same thing pretty much. You just pick up the stones and you throw at him. Like I said, most of these boss fights are pretty much just recolors of the same boss fight. And then finally, you actually have this door that opens up when you do defeat the boss. And in the final level, for some reason, the door that's been helping you go to each stage just decides to fight you. And then you kill it. And then you just go through the door again. I don't really know what was up with that, but I mean, it was a thing. Hey, it was a thing. So I guess that's it for it. And then finally, the final boss is Wart the Toad. Or I guess Wart the Frog. I'm not really too sure. I think it's a toad. Earlier in the video, all you do is pick up vegetables like radishes and pumpkins or squash or whatever, and you just chuck it at his mouth and he just dies. I guess he doesn't really like vegetables. I mean, didn't his mother tell him that in order to get big and strong, he has to eat them? Yeah, whatever, I guess. Music in this game isn't actually that bad. It's just that there's like 3 or 4 tracks, so it gets pretty annoying pretty fast, actually. And that's really about it. I mean, nothing really too noteworthy on the music, except that some tracks are good, but some are not, and it's just that there's only so many of them that the game just keeps on looping them over and over again for the rest of the game. So, yes, they can get pretty annoying pretty fast. Now for my 7th take on trying to do this. Overall, I feel like this game could have been much more greater than what it actually is. And it's all just because I don't feel like they go more into it, more into the Wayne Zacky, whatever they were trying to do for this game. Instead, it still feels like the Doki Doki Panic game that they first made instead of a Super Mario Bros. 2 game for the Americans. And just that alone just makes me a little bit sad to honestly hear. But unfortunately, that's just the cold hard truth about how this game is. Much like Super Mario Bros. The Lost Level, it really is just there. Because, I mean, Nintendo themselves don't even talk about it that much or even reference the game itself. I mean, the final boss, Wart, he doesn't even appear in any other future like Mario games or even spin offs. The only thing they reference is Shy Guys themselves, along with Sniffits, and Birdo out of all the characters. I know it's a little bit weird, but I mean, I guess that's just Nintendo for you. Once you do beat the final boss, which is Wart, you get this little credit scene that actually tells you all the enemies' name, which I think is a little nice touch. But then, for some reason, Birdo and the ostrich names are kind of swapped. So Birdo is actually called Ostrich in the credits, and Ostrich is actually called Birdo when it's the other way around. I don't know. There's something I noticed while playing the game. It's just Mario sleeping like nothing ever happened. Because, like I stated in the very beginning of the video, this was just all of a dream in Mario's head. And with that, that's pretty much it for Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. A weird experiment that I'm actually kind of glad it did happen and it did come to be. But with that, for the next game, it's going to be a game that's pretty much held as a classic, which is going to be Super Mario Bros. 3. So have a good morning, good night, wherever you're at. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I'll see you guys till then, I guess.